Hi, and welcome to the best thing we watched. We've got Chris from Movies and Munchies, myself, Ruben from the Ruby Tuesday. We are doing this weekly segment of literally the best things, TV series, movies, entertainment, for your viewing and listening pleasure. Hopefully, it is your pleasure. This week, we have quite a few interesting topics to talk about. But if you're listening on the podcast, you should have an extra helping of entertainment news. So if you are watching this on video and you want more entertainment news, or you want to see what we think about what's happened this week in the entertainment industry sector, whatever you want to call it, give it a name, like our longest name. The best thing we watched this week, part 1.2. Then hopefully you'll find entertainment out of that. So we're going to jump in. But before we do, I'm going to tell you a joke.
Oh,
Yeah, totally not a dad joke.
Oh.
Why can't you give Elsa a balloon?
I don't know. Why can't you give Elsa a balloon?
Because she will let it go. Okay, I'll give you another one. Why do you call security guards working? What do you call security guards working outside Samsung shops?
I don't know.
Guardians of the Galaxy.
Gosh. Okay, if you're just tuning in, please do not unsubscribe. I love those jokes. I'm going to share them with my children who are adults, and they will hate me.
Yes. All right, Chris. What is first on your list after those terrible jokes?
Oh my goodness. Okay, so really, we've talked about this in the past because you got to see it early, but I just got to see it this week, and it's Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings.
Cool.
Oh my gosh. I was blown away by this. The kung fu, the camera work just blew me away with how it follows and just interweaves through environments and around the characters. The fight sequences are top notch, and I love that it's not really anything we've seen in the Marvel universe thus far. Especially with all of the, just the kung fu and the extreme martial arts. And I loved it so much. So I saw it at a press screening here. And then the next night, I had bought tickets, and me and my son went and saw it again. And I got to tell you, I loved it just as much, if not more, the second time, because
that's interesting.
I caught more details. But you had mentioned the score and the soundtrack, and I enjoyed it the first time, but I think I was on overload of taking everything in. And so I got to really experience more the second time going. And oh my goodness, the theme for the movie that they play at the climax towards the end in that big battle, they play it through the credits, and then it's interwoven throughout. Oh my goodness. It gives me chills. Like, I cannot wait to buy. I'm hoping they have it on LP so I can just blow it through the house on my turntable. But I want, it definitely added to my Spotify list because it was so much fun. So I'm glad
one I listened to.
It really is good. And it's that mix of you have some hip hop, you have some electronic, you have, and then like a traditional, I would say traditional, and because I'm white and not Chinese, I'm hedging lightly here. But it sounds like there is some traditional Chinese music through it, and then with a modern influence at times too. And so it really, it paired so well and was just beautiful to listen to. And so I had a blast through, through everything.
So we didn't get to talk about spoilers. Do you want to talk about those end credit scenes? Is anything that stood out to you?
I think so. Yeah, this is okay. So spoiler warning, if you're listening, if you're watching, it has come out in theaters. So, you can just skip ahead. We put chapters in the time codes too for YouTube. So you can just skip past the little, the spoilers here. I think for me, the biggest question I have is, how is Bruce Banner now?
Yeah.
I thought
Did you notice his arm was still broken?
it is, yeah, he's still got it in the sling. It's still damaged from when he as Hulk did the snap, brought everybody back. So I love that continuity, but it's almost like like me and my son were talking, like, are they trying to retcon something? Are they changing something? So I'm hoping that we'll get answers.
I think it's because of She-Hulk. So we have the Disney Plus series coming, She-Hulk, and Mark Ruffalo and Abomination, Tim Roth are both confirmed to be in the series. And the idea with that story is that Angry Hulk, there's a name for him, comes back. And so it would have to not to be the combination of scientific Hulk, both human, and it would have to be the Grizzly Hulk for them to either for Abomination to fight. Although in the film of Abomination, is it me or is Abomination now the good?
He was totally in on the
because
I mean, it was just a setup. It was a play fight, really.
Yeah, he said
with Wong.
Learn to pull your punches or learn to take them. So it made me think that Wong's the good guy and Wong's with Abomination. Theoretically speaking, then Abomination is no longer bad. So what happened in that story? Because Tim Roth's character, if you go back and they're saying that's canon, was absolutely nasty. He was a bad dude, bad monster.
Yeah, I really hope that will. I mean, and maybe I had forgotten about She-Hulk coming out, so I think that's a good tie-in there. So maybe as that series comes out, and that should be should pull up IMDb to see when that's coming out. But that I would want them to. Okay, so it comes out in 2022. Yeah, I want it to tie in some of those things. I want it to really to answer the questions that were brought up there. And you figure that Captain Marvel is getting a call. I mean, she gets a call, but is that from is it Monica Rambeau's character? Probably, or would it be Miss Marvel?
I mean, either she could go to Miss Marvel. There's other places like because Love and Thunder is coming out as well. It'd be an interesting tie-in to have Captain Marvel there for a let me help you, as well as Hulk. I wouldn't be surprised if Hulk pitches in Love and Thunder because he's been so much part of that universe now, or that trilogy at least with Thor. The last one he was one of the main protagonists. Yeah,
it was almost like a Hulk and Thor
Hulk
movie. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So there's a lot of times that they basically teased us on what's going to happen next with the Marvel Universe, as well as now introducing Shang-Chi and Awkwafina as their new members of the Avengers, I guess, because we don't have some of the Avengers anymore. So we need to, for Avengers 5, there's a new team that needs to be formed, and it makes sense because we're going into the multiverse now. We have the 10 rings and the power stones. That if you look into the history of the rings, they are fallen spirit warriors. They're dragons, which is why the rings were different in the animated comics. They were rings. They're still rings, but now they're more like bangle rings, which you can use as physical power. So that's how Marvel changed them, obviously. But the essence of what the rings means, who created them, is as big as Galactus or Thanos. They have that sort of power. They're celestials, because we're going to have that next, the Eternals, and that's dealing with celestials. So I'm sure they're going to tie it in, because Fahey, he tied in Shang-Chi to Iron Man 1 with the 10 rings. And now at the end, because we got that second end credits as well.
Yes,
what were your thoughts on that one?
Well, I loved the symmetry that the post-credit scene brings with the beginning of the movie, with her father, sitting on that throne with all of the warriors in front of her, or in front of him, and then her now. Xialing, is that I might be?
Yeah, I don't even try and pronounce that name. Yeah.
And just I love where it's going to go, because I mean, she's already shown that she has the capabilities to create an empire out of nothing.
Yeah.
And so she's powerful in her own right, but more so using cunning and brains than the fear and intimidation that comes with a superpower.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to be really, it's intriguing to figure out where will this go from here. And side note, I didn't realize this, but I think, at least according to IMDb, this was her first movie.
What, Aquafina?
No, not Aquafina.
Yeah. I think you're right. Yeah.
The actor, and what a way to start your career in an MCU movie, but then the one that was so spectacularly good, and that you've been set up to continue on at some point.
Well, there's going to be a 10 Rings movie, isn't there? So I guess she's one of the main protagonists there, leading her own title, which is great.
Yeah.
In the comics, at one point, Shang-Chi fights his sister, but his sister's name's Hammer, so it's like a different sister. But because they're changing things around, it could quite easily mean that one of the main enemies is his sister again, because she's taken up the mantle of the 10 Rings. And they're a terrorist organization that leads back to the Al-Qaeda, ISIS, all of the toppling governments, and now she basically has the Foot Clan, turtles. Here we go. If she changes it for the better, great. But I don't know how you can take assassins to what they were doing with her father and change them for the better. That would be an interesting way to go. Maybe helping like an Avengers type shield organization that is no longer. It could be that, but I don't see it going that way.
I don't see it going that way either. I do like the idea of that, but yeah, I don't think just based on the look that she has, that this is more of a it's not a pure motive type of thing. At least the feeling that you get from that post-credit scene.
I have to say, I love the fact that she put her own spin on it, and you get all the graffiti around the throne, and she'd done up the walls of that. That's fantastic, because it's her father, but it's really her making it her own, and that was great.
It really was. Yeah. All right. What's top of your list?
Not top of my list, but I'll choose one. Candyman. So I watched the original. I think I mentioned to you this week sometime, and just because it's been in my mind, I think it's been a lifetime literally since I've seen it. Obviously, we have the new one, and people are talking about it. So you know what? It's on Netflix. I'll chuck it on, and I got absorbed. I was like, oh yeah, this was pretty good. The surprising thing to me, I don't remember most of it because it's been that long. But I was like, when do I see Candyman? It's not until like halfway through the film, where they've been building this urban legend of the Candyman. Did you get to see him? And what was interesting, a lot of people have been complaining that it's so political. Like the new one is so political with. Hello? Oh, sorry.
I'm there.
Audio cut out.
Sorry.
Not political. What's the word I'm looking for? It's so...
Social commentary?
Yes, social commentary.
Okay.
Thank you. But the first one was totally social commentary. It's about a white woman going into the ghettos, looking up urban legends, and she was commenting herself on how when she gets in trouble, because she's a white woman, the cops come immediately. But whenever there's an African-American person getting in trouble, they won't come into their version of the ghetto, I guess. That's what they would. That's what a white guy would call it. But they would just say, "This is where we live, man." Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, even that one, I was like, yeah, even though you're complaining about it, how long has it been since you watched the original? Because I think it will mess with your head a bit. Like, this is what the original was always about. So in comparison to the new one, I think it's really done its groundwork and gone, yeah, we're taking what the first one stood for, the social commentary, we put that in the new one. But I was surprised. I wasn't scared pretty much throughout the whole film at all. And I remember in my head going, this is terrifying. It's amazing how let's not say Candyman in the mirror 5 times. Yeah, that game that you still kind of play when you're in the bathroom. All you have to do is listen to last week's podcast when you're like, at night, going for a wee. But it is far gorier than I remember. Like it's properly visceral, like some of the dismemberments of bodies.
Mm.
And there's a bit of trivia I learned. Let me know if you know this. So the actor who plays Candyman, there's a scene where there's a bunch of bees on him because that's part of the lore of Candyman with bees. There's a scene where there's a bunch of bees in his mouth, and he actually had to have bees in his mouth, and he got stung 25 times, and he got $1,000 for each sting. So it was basically the director saying, for each sting you get, I'll give you $1,000, and so he got $25,000 extra above his paycheck for getting stung 25 times, like in his mouth or around his face.
Okay, I didn't know that. I'm not sure though that would entice me. Yeah, I don't know. Because the thought that goes through my head is, okay, yeah, I expect to get maybe stung on the tongue. But what happens if I accidentally, when I get stung, go, like, inhale
In your
quickly,
throat, and then it swells up, and then you die.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Yeah.
No, thank you. I mean, that's, and I don't, the image of Nicolas Cage from, was it Wicker Man with all the bees and the bees, that pops into my head too. Yeah, no, no, I'm not putting bugs in my mouth, which is probably why one of the many reasons why I'm not an actor. But
Yeah, or spiders. I don't like spiders. We found a brown recluse in our house today in the UK. Well, in the US, you get those, don't you? And they were originally from, well, I think they were South America, so originate. And they've jumped on some boats and they're gone, we're going to go over to Ruben's house and scare the crap out of him because we found one. And I was like, those bite you. You can have to amputate some fingers, man. Yeah, they're not good. So
I don't do spiders well. No, no.
we should do top 5 spider films.
Oh gosh. Okay. Yeah. It's that
it on
maybe
the
those will
October
work into their animal horror ones too, because that is truly horrifying. Right.
That
there.
is horrifying.
Oh no, thank you. No.
So what's next on your list?
Well, okay. So it is a South Korean series on Netflix called DP, or Deserter Pursuit. And I watched it last weekend and like I enjoyed it, but now that I've had a week to sit with it, I've enjoyed it more. Like as my head has processed, and then hearing just what other people have had to say, especially I've had so many comments from people who actually were conscripted into the army. So it's basically it tells a story of the South Korean army where every male, once they reach a certain age, is obliged to join the military for a set number of years. And there are very few exceptions that can get you out. Typically, it's just out of privilege or maybe out of some medical excuse or reason why you can't go in. And then what it shows is just the massive amount of hazing and disrespect and abuse and bullying and all of this stuff that goes on. Now, I'm not Korean. I don't know anybody who's ever gone through that. So I had to watch it with like, well, maybe this is true. Maybe this is blown out of proportion as a commentary. I mean, the message though is farther reaching than just within the military, because it talks, it has that social commentary of, well, when you bully people, when you treat people this way, just because you can, this is what happens. And so it's got buddy cop elements to it, because Deserter Pursuit, what happens is these people who are bullied, they're like, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm out of here. And so they leave the base and they run away and they go AWOL. Well, they have some military police, a special segment of that, who go out and find them and bring them back. And so you have these two people who are paired up, and one is kind of a little goofier, but he's not like goofy and just stupid. I mean, he's goofy. He's more a little lighthearted, but he's very focused. And his way is not the wrong way to do things. It's just different. And then you have our main protagonist, who is very buttoned down, very serious, very focused. And he also, they approach it differently, but they work really well together. And so just as I um, the series transitioned for me, and especially in my head, where it just I appreciate more of the story arc and the chase that occurs. You have a couple of episodes that are they're not standalones. I mean, you know the series. I think it's 6 episodes. I mean, it builds on each other. So it's not like you can just, well, I'm just going to watch this one episode because it's it's an episode of Magnum PI or something like that. No, it's telling a larger story. But the last couple of episodes really ramp up in just everything that they do. So from the tension, and there's urgency, there is real peril there. And there's just, I mean, it's not terrifying, but it's scary, because you feel for these people, and you feel like a lot of the emotion, especially as it begins to flash back to things that occurred to people and what they went through and how that got them to where they are in their journey. And so it's, if you haven't seen it, it's heavy, but it's so well done. And really the first episode, I don't think it found its legs yet. When you get to the second episode, that's where it really began. For at least for me, it grabbed me in the second episode, and was like, okay, now we're really going. And so, as I'm watching the first one, I'm like, I don't know where this is going. I don't know if I'm going to enjoy this, especially because I went in with a different mindset from when I saw the trailer of what the tone of the show was and of what the whole purpose was. And it was the trailer. I got more of a whimsical feel, or a fun type of feel. They played up some more of the comedy aspects, which are there in little bits, but that's not the focus of the show. So,
am I right in thinking that it's based on a graphic novel?
It is based on a webtoon. Yes.
Okay.
And so I tried to find examples of it online, and I couldn't really, at least in just a quick search, to be able to pull like imagery or something like that to use it as an example. But I saw a couple of stills, and it looks really well drawn. And most people, though, that have commented haven't been fans of the webtoon or even mentioned the webtoon. They've really talked about their experience in the Korean Army, and either how it was when they were there and how it matched the show, or how it has improved since they've been in, since modern times, but even acknowledging that, well, it still kind of does exist. And I don't think it's gone, because I mean, otherwise I wouldn't be able to relate to the show either. You know what I mean? If bullying and if abuse like that had disappeared, well, then we wouldn't really have anything that would resonate with anybody. And so it does exist. And
yeah, true.
Yeah.
Does it wrap up the story, or is there potential for more?
The story that we're watching has a conclusion to it.
Okay.
But because this is like an ongoing thing, and our two main protagonists have not served out their entire time yet,
okay,
I could see it following again and creating some new stories. I don't know if it will, though. I don't know if it was designed as a limited series, because either way, I mean, I felt satisfied with watching it.
Right.
There is a post-credits or a mid-credits scene in the last episode, which just like squishes you in there and drives home the point even more. And so that doesn't open it up necessarily for a new season. It just So yes, there could be a second season. Will they do it? I don't know. Am I satisfied with what I watched as a standalone, all done? Absolutely.
Wow. So my dad grew up in a time in South Africa where conscription was still in South Africa. They only did away with it, I think 20 years ago or something. So he had to do 2 years in the South African army, and he was a chef and a guard with like attack dogs. And so he has some very interesting story. But what was worse than that? So my dad married my mother when I was 5. And for 11 years afterwards, every year for 2 months, he had to go back and continue. So for 2 months of the year, for 11 years, he had to do 2 months. And so there were so you get your 2 years of conscription, and then 2 months, you got to give up. and the wages were really basic, like really low. And the stories, as you can imagine, they're very similar. There's stuff that it's just. My dad's of the opinion that everyone should do it because it teaches you, like in the old sense of the word, to man up. It really will teach you, like, life is this tough. If you can get through these 2 years, you can get through anything. And it gives you some backbone, I guess. And I kind of agree with that, but also I would never want to send my kids to that. So yeah, I can imagine this is quite hard hitting. I'm gonna put it on my list. I've been watching people's reviews. I watched yours and Austin's, and everybody just has really great things to say about it, especially like cinematography, acting, the pacing of it, but hard hitting.
Yeah.
So it sounds like it's definitely one to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I gave it, I think, 3.5. And really, if I were re-reviewing it after having a week to sit in it, I think I would give it closer to 4.5 now.
Okay. Well, I mean, that's good. There's some albums of like audio stuff, like new albums I'll listen to and I'm like, I love it. And then I go back to it, and the more I listen to it, the worse it gets. But then there's some like that just get better and better on listen. You might not have loved it at first. Muse is like that with me. U2, some of U2's earlier albums. But yeah, so if you have entertainment series that seem to get better or just in your mind, that means it's probably more complex. That's I guess sometimes we're used to getting like generic good guy, bad guy stuff. And this one has a deeper resonance that your mind has to sit with and kind of work out how it actually feels about it, which is interesting. It's got something to say.
Yes. And it's something important to say too. I think that's also good.
Yeah. Not just for the sake of it.
Yes.
So coming out this week on Wednesday on Netflix, and the embargo is lifted, but I'll do my best not to say anything because I know you'll be jealous of this one, is Into the Night, the second season.
Oh, how did you already get that? Wow. Okay. Nice. No spoilers.
No spoilers. But I will say, I think I mentioned briefly last week that we watched the first 2 episodes. I think there are only like 6 episodes again. It's a really short season. But I was like, the tempo's off because we're no longer in the plane. We're in the bunker, as they've shown, like at the end, they get to a bunker. So new location, new members are added to the group. There's a different dynamic. We've got soldiers, and other people that I won't say about, but I have to say, like midway through episode 2, it just picks up on the pace again, and you're still not in the sky. It's because our characters get split up in groups, and everything that's happening to them is like a day in 24. Things just go wrong, and you're wondering who's going to survive at the end. You literally don't know who's going to live. So if you were counting, you're like, I really like that character. Oh, never mind. Okay, cool. Great. Thanks for that. Once again, you have that intro and outro score that really gets you into it. It's got those drum deep bass, like, and then they jump into it, and you're like, oh my gosh. And they ended with that as well. And so you're just like pushing A or whatever on your console, your remote, put the next one on. But they're only like half an hour. The thing that this second season did well though for me is it opens up the world. So where the first season is just in the plane and you're figuring what's going on, you're running from the sun, or you're flying away from the sun, and you're learning a bit about your characters and their backstories. This one manages to open up the backstory of the new characters, and as that does that, you find out more about what's actually going on in this new world. And so it really feels like we're going to be here for a long time to stay. Like I could imagine there being 4 or 5 seasons out of this, because I don't see there being a conclusion to the story anytime soon. That's not to say there weren't conclusions to a story. They just left it like, this is just the beginnings. This is a taster, guys.
Do you get the sense that you want it to continue for maybe 3, 4, 5 seasons?
Absolutely. I feel like they've started so much. I have all these questions that I want answered. And I feel like if they answered them really quickly, it would just feel rushed. Okay. But at the same time, they need to keep me invested in what is happening. and that's character. So if you kill all my favorite characters off, who am I going to root for? So it's a fine line.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Because and I think it's needed for some of our modern shows to take those risks, to be willing to off a character. I mean, Lost did it to some degree. Game of Thrones, absolutely.
The red wedding. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And so we see, I think more and more in modern, we see that, okay, the writers are willing to take a risk, but where is that risk? And, how many can we kill off? And if we kill off one that is like everybody's favorite, is there a way to bring them back in a way that feels natural, that doesn't feel, forced? Or do we risk shooting ourselves in the foot by taking that risk, because that's a huge gamble right there, that, with, if you alienate your audience because they loved that character so much, but then also you've got to, as a creative, you're kind of like, I applaud you for taking that leap there and trying to, guide the story in a new way.
I mean, Stephen King says that's the best thing you can do is kill your darlings. If it hurts you to kill your character when you're writing it, then it's going to hurt your audience. If it hurts, then you're doing a good thing. And I'm like, no, I don't want to. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, how much can you hurt your audience, though? When I think that's probably, there's probably some examples that we could look at. None come to mind, though, of where it changed the trajectory of a show or a movie in a negative way because you killed off somebody that you really shouldn't have killed off.
Well, I think 24 might be a good example because there's only so much you can see a character go through until it becomes non-believable. Like the traumatizing events that a character can go through daughter losing loved ones, eventually that no matter how talented or how strong or how gritty you are, you're going to lose it. You're not going to be able to continue. And so you have to have a break, which is why some series do it really well. You give Marvel does this well. They'll go through a really big event that will have them traumatized, but then you'll have them sitting down together and eating a meal, or like just taking a break, and then you feel like, okay, I can rest now with my characters. It's giving you more joy feelings as you're watching them eating hummus. But then, like stuff is still going to happen or worse things are going to happen. But because they've recouped, you've given them some time. You're basically giving your audience time to breathe. It's the whole thing about comedic timing at the right moment, to not have it terrifying all the time. You basically allow it's like a beats in a movie, right? So you have this tempo that just scary, comedy, breathe. And then scary, and breathe. Not scary, because if your adrenaline's up here all the time, eventually you zone out.
You become numb to it.
Yeah.
Well, okay. So I'm looking forward to that. That comes out this week. So Into the Night, season 2. That was one that did that. The first season surprised me. Like I just happened to stumble on it kind of. And I'm like, oh, I'll check this out. And oh, wow, this has grabbed my attention quite well. And okay, good. I'm glad to hear that it is still something, it maintains its momentum and really has a trajectory that feels
different.
Like we want to follow it.
But it's great. Yeah.
Okay, good. Well, speaking of putting our characters in peril, I know you watched it yesterday. I watched it finally. Money Heist. Part 5, Volume 1. Now, I think we should stay away maybe from spoilers just because it's came
so
out.
brand new. Yeah.
Yeah. So we're going to stay away from spoilers here. But how did you like this? Like I loved, and I tentatively love where this final part is going, because they've literally given us only half of the season. Yeah. So they have the potential to just screw it all up and make part 5 not end well or not wrap up well, which then ruins everything. So, but I loved, at least right now, I loved the beginning. How did that resonate with you?
Yeah, so I thought the action was incredible, like the way it was filmed and shot. I know some people just thought it was too much. I loved it because we've had the previous 4 seasons, and there's been some seasons where they've had a lot of backstory building and it's been much slower. So you've had some action, but I thought the first 2 episodes, they just went for it. They just, oh yeah, remember when? Yeah, now that you experience everything that happened in season 4, this is the repercussions for that. And I thought, bloody hell, okay, how is anyone going to survive this? Like, I know the professor has a great plan, but right now, it looks like you're all dead. Because it, like, talking about 24, it just felt like every plan they had, they'd fix one thing slightly, and then 7 things would go wrong. And I was like, but then the 3rd episode had a bit of a dip, and it was more backstory building. I didn't mind the professor's backstory. I thought that gave him some weight, but I noticed a lot in the comments that a lot of people were asking for some of the other characters to have more screen time, which they didn't get. So that was one negativity. I can kind of understand that. I screamed at the TV when the episode 5 finished because I'd forgotten. And I was like, no, you're leaving me like that? No. And I was a little bit heartbroken. I'm not going to say why.
Yeah, yes. I saw it coming and didn't want it to. That's
exactly that. Yeah.
Yeah. And I agree. I think the action was wow. I mean, it harkened back to I think it was the end of season 1, part 1, or the end of part 2, where they're down in the where Berlin dies. I think we can talk. I mean, this is
that's way back,
much part early. Yeah, with that big gun that they have, at the vault, and it's just the camera is pulsing with all of the gunfire and everything like that. There were sequences in this where it was just like that, where I was like, oh my goodness, they are just. It is all out craziness with the action. And then so for me, I'll ask the question, and without like going into too much detail, but as we do, we get to see, some backstory on, or at least flashbacks that still bring in our previous characters, even if they're not part of the necessarily the heist right now. They were part of the characters' lives, and so we get to see some. And there's that flashback that happens, and I think it's episode 3, maybe, that was like a majority of that episode was flashback.
Yeah,
and it was going on in Denmark, I think.
Yeah.
Did I miss something, or did that not have its point revealed yet?
No. Like, I felt, whenever there was flashbacks, I was thinking, but that doesn't, I mean, I know what you're doing, but that still doesn't really resonate with what's happening right now. Because we understand a lot of our characters already. There's almost no need for all that flashback. We're invested in our characters. So are you just padding, or is there going to be a reason for it?
Yeah, well, and because in the past, they've shown these backstories and these almost new mini tales within the episode, because they relate to an event that's coming. You know what I mean? Like, it presents like the twist or something like that. And so I was when episode 5 ended, I was like, well, wait a minute, what about this? You introduced this, and you gave quite a bit of screen time to it. Did I zone out for a second? Did I miss what the larger purpose was for that, or what?
I don't think they revealed anything. I mean,
Okay.
like I said, there was quite a bit of stuff with the professor, and I felt like they were just building his character, or giving us a reason why he does what he does now, or how he is the way he is now. I was like, okay. And then there were obviously a couple of other characters, which I won't spoil here, but I thought it was great. But like you said, there is definitely a possibility that they don't end this, which don't end it well, which would be really sad because of the fan base.
What we've had so far, right?
Yeah, it's been awesome. I particularly, like, my lowest season would probably be the last season, although I still loved it. It's like saying there's a bad Marvel film. Like, I love all the Marvel films, but if I had to rank them, there'd be others like Iron Man 3 would be way down there. I like season 4, but I don't know.
I think, yeah, at least right now, and we hold part 5 kind of just off to the side a little bit there, but yeah, I would agree that part 4 was probably would be at the lowest of my ranking too. Even though I still loved it, and I love, I love
absolutely.
the writing, I love, all of that. So I'm really hoping that knowing that this was the final part, that that the show is coming to a conclusion, that they had that in mind when they, you know what I mean? Like this isn't something that all of a sudden it says like, well, hey, you're canceled, and they're scrambling to do it. It was more of like, this is where we're leading. We're done.
Yeah.
So stick the landing, hopefully.
I mean, for example, I've got screeners for Lucifer season 6. The embargo's not up, but so far, I think I've watched 2 episodes, and my heart has sunk a bit because it's not where I wanted it to go. And they've done the thing which I was hoping they weren't going to do. I'm a bit tongue-tied, but yeah. So there's definitely the possibility because they got picked up by Netflix. They got another season, and then it was cancelled. And then Netflix said, "No, we'll give you another season." And then they got more episodes, and so we're getting 2 lots of Lucifer. I think 10 episodes, and then 8 is like an 18 episode season or something. But they're splitting it in half, and it feels like padding so far. They're not willing to move the plot along, but they don't really know what they want to do with it. It feels like the beginning will be arc, the end of the episode will be arc, but the stuff in between will be shuffling around the players and maybe giving Lucifer a the detective stuff that they're gonna try and put in. But now we're just gonna put all the God stuff to the side. That's kind of what it feels like. So going back to Money Heist, I really hope that's not what's going to happen, and they're able to find. I'm sure it's going to be great, but there's definitely a possibility of that it's not. They're like, oh no, please stick the landing, please.
Exactly. Well, and it's we have to wait till December now. That's
why
cool.
though? Like, why have they done that? Are they not finished filming?
I thought it was just out of a maybe to milk it a little bit longer. You know what I mean? That you can, for part 5 drops, part 5 volume 1 drops, maybe the hype from that entices new viewers to start the series.
Yeah.
And then that allows them to catch up because, most people don't watch at the ridiculous speeds that we do of, and not speeding the watching up, which I know you can do online, which is weird, but just we binge an immense amount of content in shorter periods of time than our regular, just average casual viewer would do. So maybe that gives them the opportunity to catch up. So when December comes along, they have, and they catch it when it premieres. For those of us that are fans of the show, it's just aggravating. And
very much.
Stop, Netflix, don't do that. Give me all of them now.
Yeah. 5 episodes seems odd as well. It's not a British series, so you don't need to make them tiny. And even British series that are tiny are 6 episodes minimum. So it's 6 to 8 episodes normally is like the full season.
Well, and they're longer more often than not too.
Yeah.
So
like hour-long episodes, but 6.
Yeah.
Aggravating.
All right. Yeah. All right. Anything else on your list?
Not really. We watched a lot of TV, like old stuff on Netflix. We watched Jennifer Lopez in Enough, really old film where she marries this dude who seems like he's a great dude, then he turns out to be a wife beater, and then the poster has her in gloves. Where she learns to protect herself. But the film is 2 hours, but the first hour and 40 minutes of the film is her running away and trying to avoid her very rich husband who has ties to everyone. She keeps, and then the last 20 minutes is her training and defeating him. And I'm like, that's great, but the poster is very deceptive.
Well, that sounds unbalanced too.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's a great film, well acted, well put together, but like we expected kind of like a training montage halfway through and that kind of stuff. Very well put together. And another one that we've been talking about in our home about like a reflection of society today that wasn't well received when it first came out. There's a film with Justin Timberlake called In Time. It's all about film where time is currency. When you hit the age of 25, your clock starts and you have a year from then. Well, depending on where you land on society is how much time you have, but you have an amount of time and then it's currency. So you got to pay your bills, rent, you can gamble with it. But if you time out, you die. And so in the rich scale ends of things, the really rich, they have like a million years or decades. And so it's the reflection of that on today is still there. The rich get richer, the poor get poorer. Mm-hmm. And Ethan, one of my sons, actually watched this in RE. So in what you call like societal studies. Okay. And so it spawns a discussion because if you had time as currency, what would you do with it if you were always clock watching? If today was your last day, what would you do? Would you do anything to get more time, or would you live like it's your last hour or your last day or your last year? So although the film itself is quite cheesy, although I do appreciate Justin Timberlake, and I think people give him a hard time because he's a singer, singers can't act, but I was really impressed with him in this. I was like, that's all right, man. That's decent acting. I got a bit of a soft spot for this film, I think. And by the time we got to the end, I was like, that wasn't bad. That was all right. Have you seen it?
I have, when it first came out. And so I remember enjoying it. And like you, I haven't seen Justin Timberlake in a lot of things, but was he in the movie Bully also?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
And I really liked him in that, or there was some movie like that, where he wasn't a nice guy, but he pulled it off really well. And I remember liking In Time too, that it just, the concept, definitely
concept's really interesting.
Really cool. Yeah. I think it's good to hear that the message is still relevant,
Yeah. The juxtaposition of that, thinking about what's happening in society today, that's a conversation starter for sure.
Well, and I wonder too, I mean, like the more I think about it, gosh, and maybe it's just because I'm older now than when I saw it, it feels like it's more relevant
Absolutely.
today, than it was when it came out. And that truly could just be because I'm now farther along in life. And so I have more of appreciation for the lack of time I have left. Yeah. Or it's also just the, I value my time more in different ways. And so what used to be, career chasing maybe at the beginning is now it's less about career chasing and more about sitting in some of the things that bring me and my family enjoyment. You know what I mean? Or that give us more time together.
Change. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. So that's cool. I may have to revisit that. Was that on Netflix or did you just rent it? Or
yeah.
Okay. Cool. I'll have to check that out.
What else do you have on your list?
I tried last night. Brand new series. It's on Epix. And so I decided to just give it a watch. I'm only one episode in. I think there's only 2 episodes out with a third one coming very soon, or maybe there's only 1 episode and the next one's coming. But I've only seen the first episode. It's called Chapelwaite. Chapelwaite. And it's with Adrian Brody. And nice. It's kind of gothic horror. No, not a comedy at all. No, it is. Yeah, it's gothic horror mystery. Okay. Maybe.
Intrigued.
It's quiet. It's there's a little bit of ghost story, at least that it feels like it could go that way. You have this dad who is a ship captain who his wife passes away, and we learn that within the first minute of the show. And so he has these 3 children. And they decide to, he decides to take them off of the boat to then go live on land, to give the children a proper, just upbringing, where they can, interact with other people other than just the ship hands and stuff. And so they go to this house that he has inherited. And then odd things kind of happen. It's more so there's like history with the house, history with the town. And so they are seen as outsiders in so many different ways when they enter this town. So I hit my microphone there. And so I don't know necessarily where it's going, which that doesn't bother me. The pace it's not slow, but it is patient. It's drawing me in. Adrian Brody he's kind of doing this whisper thing. He's very quiet in a lot of his.
He is normally though. It's kind of his acting style. Yeah.
So it works. It's also a little frustrating at some points because I'm like, just speak up.
Can someone turn his volume up?
Yeah, exactly. And he's very patient. He's very not proper is not the right word. Restrained, maybe. Okay. You feel almost like he's holding something in. And maybe that's an aspect of the show because there are things that we see that really are like, whoa, what? Okay, where is this going to go? I don't know how many episodes there are. It has captured me enough to want to continue to the next episode. And we'll see.
What's it on?
Epix.
Yeah, I don't think we get that in the UK. I'll have to hunt for it.
Okay, I think you can get it through. You can set it as an Amazon Prime channel or channels through Amazon. And I don't know how that works in the UK.
Yeah, we get some of that here. Like we get stars and all of that. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. So you might be able to do it through there. And so we'll see where it goes. I don't know. I mean, I'm engaged enough. Yeah. Like I said, I want to see more of it. I'm enjoying the acting. I'm enjoying the atmosphere. It's very dark, mysterious, creepy, just something that you're like, ooh, this is foreboding. And so, yeah.
I really like Adrian Brody. The Pianist is one of the most horrific films I've ever seen, but phenomenally acted by him and the cast. And then I liked Predators as well with him. I didn't mind him in Predators. Okay. I thought it was really fun, and I wanted more from him in that world because it was less bulky dudes, more human, but kind of trained, being stuck on an island, on a predator island, not Earth, having to survive being hunted by the predators. And I liked it. So I thought it was fun. So him at the helm with his sort of style, I think, especially if it's gothic, always like me a bit of gothic. So do you know how long it's going to be?
I don't. Let me see if I can pull up.
Does it feel IMDb like it's a long listed one?
It feels like it could be. I don't know if they. IMDb doesn't even have. Oh no, they have. 10 episodes.
Okay, yeah.
So
how long are the episodes?
They're about an hour.
Right.
And so it moves along. Like I didn't feel rushed, but I didn't feel bored either. Like, I mean, it was good. Yeah. It's a patient pace. But it knows where it's going, and so it's deliberate in its patientness. Is that a word? Patience.
Patientness.
I like patientness. But so it doesn't drag us along. I mean, it moves us through the narrative, but it also doesn't like, oh, well, I'm going to just take you here. We're going to take the audience on a journey because we're setting up that atmosphere, and we're really, and they, even when they introduce a character, I mean, you bring them in slowly, and then you kind of solidify them. And even though it's one, I've only watched the first episode. I mean, I have become invested in several of the characters because of just what I've learned about them, even in small bits. There's not a lot, like, especially the children, there's no backstory to them. Right. Okay. I've just met them, but I'm endeared to one of them. And so it's, we'll see where it goes, but I'm definitely, I'm on board for it right now.
Cool. Is that your list?
That is my list of the best things I watched this week. Yes.
Cool. Well, if you're still here and you're watching, congratulations. If you've ever watched Chris's channel, the Movies and Munchies, there's a reason why it has munchies at the end, because occasionally you find really random bits of food and you'll be like, you eat it. So I've got a surprise for you, Chris. Yeah, so this random thing that I'm going to show you here on camera is called a chappie, and it's from South Africa. And it's one of the things that children grow up with, as you give your kids like 20 cents back in the day, way back in the dark ages. You would give them 20 cents and they could come back with like a handful of chappies. And it's chewing gum, but each have different flavors. And like, if you ask anybody in South Africa, it's like it's a generational thing that jumps to all generations. Everybody knows chappie. And on the back of the wrapper, so here is it gives you information. Let's see if I can find this. Here we go. Did you know? Okay, so here we go. Did you know ancient Egyptians shaved their eyebrows to mourn the death of their cats? See, we're learning. Did you know that? I didn't know
I
that.
did not, but you know what? I am a font of useless knowledge, and I love it. Oh my gosh, I've got to get me some of these because
Yeah, you can get them. Like, I'm sure you'll have South African shops. They crop up everywhere now. Did you know Antarctica is the only continent without reptiles?
that makes sense.
I mean,
I
it
didn't
makes
know
sense,
that, but it
I
makes
didn't know
sense.
it. Yeah, okay. Did you know, as of July 2012, Hashim Amala is the only South African cricketer to score a triple century? I didn't know that, nor do
Oh,
I
I
care.
did. I
you knew that?
totally follow South
Oh, you do?
African
Oh,
cricket.
okay, cool,
Yes,
well done.
yes.
You're a better South African than I am.
No, what? My cricket knowledge starts and stops with the Fantastic Mr. Fox.
Nice. I do love that film. It's a great
Yes.
film. Okay. Last, did you know? Did you know astronauts become taller in space due to the lack of gravity? What is
I
it?
want to
Gravity?
question that. I
Does
want to
that
question
stretch
that.
you out? We're going to have to ask Google. But yeah,
Yeah, I
apparently
want to.
there's all the did you knows. It won't focus. There we go. It even has that Egyptian eye on it. And
Nice.
this flavor is banana. So there you go. It tastes like banana chewing gum.
Now, how does so I know we're getting off on a tangent here, but hey, welcome. I don't know if it's available over in the UK or not, but fruit stripe gum is it's renowned for the flavor that it has and that it lasts for about a second. So you put it in your mouth, you start to chew, you feel the flavor, and then all of a sudden it's gone. So how does that flavor on the chappies last? Does it maintain for a while, or is it, I've chewed for a minute and now it's just rubber in my mouth? Yeah.
Started off strong.
Okay.
Kind of a fake banana taste.
Okay.
Still there.
Oh, okay.
This is riveting for you guys, I'm sure.
I'm riveted.
Yeah, it will last about 30 seconds and then it'll go. And then you're just
Okay.
chewing for the sake of chewing.
Okay.
Or you're practicing your bubbles.
Oh, well, there you go. Well, see, there is something to be said for that. So that's outstanding. Well, I am going to have to look for some chappies. Any tie into the movie? Because Neill Blomkamp is South African, correct?
Yeah.
So,
So there's slang
Okay.
for the word chappie or chap. Very old English, chap, yeah, as a man. And then you get chappie, a smaller man. But obviously you also get chappies, which is definitely a tie-in. So yeah, little link to a movie there for you for Neill Blomkamp, who should have done an Alien movie by now, but because of Ridley Scott, who said no, you can't. We still haven't got an Alien movie yet, but he is coming up with his first horror.
Really?
Yeah. So look out for that. I'm sure we'll talk about that in the future. Obviously, as a former South African, Neill Blomkamp is the dude for me. So
Well, and we are also still waiting for District 10.
Ugh.
So
it's coming.
No.
Is it though? Yeah. You're like, no.
No. I'm not.
Okay.
I would have believed you several years ago, but now, no. And maybe it's better. It doesn't.
Yeah. Maybe it's too long
because District 9 is spectacular. So we'll just maybe it sits there and just the tease is enough. But
I just want to know what happens. Are they coming back?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh goodness. All right. So let's see here. Some things that we're looking forward to coming up this week. Maybe we'll make this quick just because we are approaching an hour mark. But I've got 3 movies on my list. Just rattling them off because I haven't seen them yet and I don't know exactly a ton about them. But Malignant coming to theaters and HBO Max.
Okay.
I think HBO Max at least globally, maybe theaters globally as well. Kate on Netflix, which is Mary Elizabeth Winstead. Just this assassin type of girl with a timeline or a time limit attached to her, which I think could be really good. Looking forward to that one. And then Prey, which is a kind of an outdoor thriller chase movie, maybe horror also, well, like horror-ish aspects within it, but not a horror movie, more of the thriller. Those are the 3 that are I'm really anticipating for this week. Oh, and Into the Night also. But
Yes.
Ruben, what are you, anything?
So I'm
that you're
currently
looking forward
watching Kid Cosmic. I think I mentioned it briefly a couple of weeks ago. The more I've watched of it, it's just fun, bonkers silliness. If you loved the first season and you thought they were mental, because they're now in space, it's just much crazier. Just embrace your your silliness. It's like one of my favorite game reviewers calls it diarrhea Christmas lights, when there's so much color on screen and there's like lasers and action. That's what this series is when it gets into the action. Diarrhea Christmas lights. I don't know how to give you a more positive silliness about it. And it's so much fun. So that's what I'm really looking forward to finishing and reviewing. That's top of my list. Apart from the ones that you just mentioned, Kate, I'm really looking forward to. Prey could be good, also could be crap. Who knows? Yeah, with these things, I don't know what to do about Lucifer. I'm not even sure I want to watch it anymore. So we'll see.
Oh, okay. Wow. All right. Well, for you on YouTube, we want to, hey, thank you for watching the best thing we watched this week. You can find, obviously, Ruben at the Ruby Tuesday, links to his channel to subscribe are down in my description. And I'm Chris with Movies and Munchies, and links to mine will be in Ruben's description there. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do. We put out a decent amount of content, typically spoiler free, or at least we give you spoiler warnings for everything that we review. And if you're looking forward or looking for a way to listen to us as the podcast, to even hear the new stuff that we are going to have coming up that is exclusive to the podcast. Right now we're on Spotify under the best thing we watched this week, but we are also coming to basically every platform, most every platform that you could listen to your podcasts on. It just takes a little bit for that distribution to go, so that we would love to have your ears there as well. Take us on the go or whatever. And we put out the new episodes each Sunday.
Yep.
And so that way you can tune in and look forward to new ones. So I think for YouTube, hey, thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you again next week.